Hello. So what I'd like to do today is to go ahead and just kind of give you guys a heads up and an update on some things that have been going on, as well as upcoming events and just in general things that are going to be updated on the channel in the not too distant future. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to cover with some sadness. I lost my Melanaris wrasse after nearly 5 years and going through all sorts of different things. The fish was unbelievably resilient in that time. He ended up dealing with a lot of various different issues, including, like busted jaw, some parasite issues. He dealt with tank transfer, massive rock work rearrangements, and other things that a lot of times have a tendency to do in fish. He made it through. However, I think this time around he just ended up breaking his jaw to the point where he just couldn't recover. His jaw was stuck open quite wide for a long period of time, and I think it was just too much for him to recover from. In addition to that, I'm not sure if I passed this along, but my pajama cardinal that I'd had for about 3.5 years, a couple of months ago, it did end up passing away. I think it ended up developing some swim bladder issues, and it just started going upside down, and it just never bounced back from it, so it passed away. So now I'm down to 3 fish: my blue star leopard wrasse, my one spot foxface, and my coral beauty dwarf angel, which are all doing great. They're swimming around the tank, they're active, they're healthy, eating well. And, they've been in there for going on 4 years now, so they're doing fine. The good news is that with the passing of my Melanaris wrasse, a lot of additions I've held off on, namely adding a couple more wrasses, which I absolutely love. Not that you'd ever guess that by watching my channel or anything, but, but anyways, there's a couple of wrasses I've really wanted to try, but of course I held off on because, the Melanaris wrasse, once they get established, they don't tend to take kindly to new wrasse additions. So the first one is the Christmas wrasse, specifically H. Claudia by its scientific or Latin name, as well as, the possibility as a backup, if they can't find one of those, looking at a red-lined wrasse, or H. biocelatus as it's known. And the other one for sure that I am having them add to the order list is the Lubbock's or tricolor fairy wrasse. Both of these are fish, or really all 3 of them are fish that I have I've really wanted to try them. And I had my family, I queued up a bunch of fish and just told them, I said, hey, which one of these would you be interested in? And everybody in the family picked the Christmas wrasse, so it's number 1 on the list. And it's named because it has, the bright stripe patterns and the different Christmas colors going across its body, and they're just gorgeous. The good news is that the Christmas wrasses, specifically the H. Claudia variety, they're not as aggressive as the Melanaris wrasses are in general. They tend to be a little bit better for community and coexisting with other wrasses. So that's a big part of why I'm looking at them. As for the Lubbock's or tricolor fairy wrasse, honestly, this is a fish that the pictures do not do this fish justice, because if you've ever seen one in real life and seen one in action as it's moving around, it's a fish that its colors vary based on the angle that it's at and the way the light strikes them. So at times they can appear to be almost like a solid deep purple. At times they can appear to be sort of like a maroon or magenta. At other times they can appear to be more orange, which is what they have going down their back. So it really just depends on the angle that they're at, the way light strikes them. And so it's really pictures, it's one of those fish that I honestly say, almost don't bother taking a picture of it, shoot a video of it, because there's just so much variance with them. Every single time I've seen one in person, in tanks at my local fish stores, just video, or even just watching videos of them or whatever it might be, they're just gorgeous. In addition to that, and this is true of all fairy wrasses, they have that really cool rear dorsal fin that flutters back and forth, and it's almost like an underwater propeller. And so instead of using their other fins all the time, a lot of times they'll use that little rear dorsal fin to sit there and flutter and propel themselves along, and so they just look cool, like this little underwater sort of, motorboat going underneath the ocean. So anyways, these are fish that I've been interested in for a long time, but I've held off on because I didn't want to subject them to the potential nasty temperament of the Melanaris being upset about having more wrasses in the tank. Yeah, he definitely wasn't happy about the leopard wrasse, but thankfully the leopard wrasse was very resilient, held its own, had no problem, just dealing with the Melanaris, and thankfully it never really got to the point where it was, super physical, where, there's like physical damage or anything like that. It was just more of, fin flaring and, chasing just a little bit, but nothing serious. But, so anyways, I'm going to go ahead, and I've already placed the order for them, and so after going through being able to source them, and then going through, a sort of quarantine process, then I'll go ahead and do an update with them and just give you guys a heads up on how they're doing. The other kind of X factor in here is that Coral Beauty Dwarf Angels are not particularly kind to new additions, so it's going to be really interesting to see how mine acts. On the one hand, he's not going to be thrilled about having new fish in the tank, but on the other hand, the numbers, that they gotten used to for years was 5, and they're down to 3 now, so I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on him. They do tend to be a little bit more skittish when there are fewer fish in the tank, so that's the other thing, is that I'm hoping that having a couple more in there that are active, out and moving around, that they'll be a little less shy. But as far as other things are concerned, my apologies on the lack of updates. As you know, based on world events, there's a lot of things going around right now, and my house has been no exception to that. So that's a big part of why, if you're wondering, it's like, wow, you used to upload a lot of videos, why are they being a little more sporadic? That's why. Quarantine doesn't help anybody as far as shooting videos or anything. So, anyways, my hope is to try and get that back on track health-wise with myself and my family. In addition to that, just as a personal side note, I ended up starting a new job, which of course is always a little bit stressful. You're sitting there learning new things. So if you guys are sitting there wondering, why things have been a little more sporadic as of late, there's just been an awful lot going on. So my goal is to get back on track this year and being more consistent with video uploads and hopefully staying healthy. Cross, fingers on that. So, anyways, that is all I've got, and thanks for watching.